While the Bitcoin network activity has picked up, crypto venture capital has apparently slowed significantly. A recent Galaxy Digital report suggests that crypto VC is suffering during this bear market and rising interest rates are largely to blame. Joining us now to discuss is the founder and GP of Delta Blockchain Fund, Kavita Gupta. Welcome, Kavita.
Hi, Jen. How are you doing?
I am doing just great this Monday morning. I want to dig into these numbers. So I mentioned that Galaxy Digital report. They said that venture capitalists invested $2.4 billion into crypto-focused startups and protocols in the first quarter of this year, but this is the lowest sum in over 2 years. Tell me about what you're seeing, what you're investing in, and what your investment thesis is during these times.
First of all, I have to say this is amazing when we are talking about $2.4 billion going into startup in 1 quarter in crypto blockchain space. And we are talking about how low it is. If I compare it to 16, 17, 18, like when basically I started mainstream investing into blockchain and crypto, that number was even unimaginable. But coming back to today, I feel like it all depends upon the market, right? You are seeing a burst of a bubble, which did happen in last year and a half. And because of that, you're seeing people being more cautious about what are they really putting in money, how many of these projects actually going to have a reliability, scalability beyond next 3 to 4 years with respect to adoption, that it can actually sustain a bear market, go towards the bull market and have some sort of a dividend back or a carry back. So I'm seeing after a big bubble when anything and everything can just raise money, crypto VCs are being much more smarter about where the money is going, especially in the valuations of Series C and Series D round, or even giving an idea $100 million valuation. So it's actually, from an investor point of view, I feel like it's a very smart time to invest.
All right, interesting. From an investor point of view, you look at it that way. So let me just ask you straight up, are you putting your money to work right now or are you on hold?
No, we are actively actually deploying. We just closed a deal last week, signed, and the money we are doing one this week. But it's usually also on as the report mentioned, we are a pre-seed seed stage fund. We are doing follow-ons on our existing company, but we are closing continuously almost 3 deals on 4 to 5 week spaces on pre-seed and seed stages. There is the most interesting part of this time of bull cycle, and the last 3 cycles have survived, is that there are still amazing Web2, Web3 founders who have multiple serial entrepreneurship, have strong backgrounds coming into the space and still building some real amazing real life products. So I don't see a dearth of founders, the dearth of ideas. I just see money being smartly put in the projects, not the dearth of money either.
Yeah, I just want to go back to what was it, September 2021, when we had reported that Kavita Gupta had raised over 50 million for a new fund. You were stated in our headline as an ex-Consensus Ventures head. So you've had time as a VC person at Consensus and now with your own fund. So I guess let me ask you this. When you started, what was your roadmap, given it was more or less a bull market? And now it's, well, not so much so. So how has that changed? What corrections have you had to do in your own roadmap? I guess that's the question. Yeah.
It's one of the smartest questions I've ever been asked, and thank you so much for asking this. We didn't. Like, if you talk to any of our investors, I kept on saying, hey, this is a bull market. It's the best time to raise money as an investor for us. We're going to raise, but we are expecting this fluff has to somehow slow down over next year. We can't tell you exactly what time, but it will slow down. And that is the time of mid-22 to 23 or 24 is when we are heavily going to invest. Even when we did our fund thesis, we basically said 4 to 5 years of investing with the same time horizon to say that 23 to 25 is what we are looking for, a good amount of capital for us to go into the market. Because when we raised in 21 and early 22, the valuations of the idea that when they are actually going to hit the market, the way they were hiring, I've seen those bull cycle in 17 and before, and I knew that was not sustainable.
Since we're talking about the 2021 bull cycle, I want to ask you, are you seeing a lot of companies wanting extensions now, and how is that affecting valuations?
Definitely, there are a lot of companies who are going for extensions. And again, it's a very interesting market. Some are going at the flat round. Some are actually going back and saying, hey, why don't we go back to all our VCs and give them a lower valuation because we did raise at a higher valuation. And when it comes to any of the companies we know, we always say, guys, taking a lower valuation at this point just because you raised at $50-60 million at pre-seed and now you're going back to 2025, just to adjust to the market is not a failure of the idea, is not the failure of the founder. The way we look at it, it's just the market adjustment. If your idea even today is able to raise money on that valuation, then that idea and the trust in the founders are still there. There are certain projects which have also gone with the 10% high or a 15% high and then extended the round with their existing investors. So we are seeing all the 3 to 4 different type of raises going with respect to extension, but majority of them are happening at the flat round and then a little discounted round, then higher.
You know, in 2021, many companies raised with the promise of launching a token for both investors and users of their products. How are you advising startups who were planning on launching a token given the current regulatory atmosphere in the US?
So most of the projects, even when they are thinking about launching a token, and we have been seeing that since starting from 18, when the whole, I don't want to call the word disillusionment, but like no clarity and the continuation of that very gray area of whether we are legal or not legal, though we are all paying taxes and very high taxes on it, continued. Most of the people who registered for tokens actually did it outside US. Said that, I think the idea of launching a token and having a value associated with it, whether it's from regulatory reasons, whether it's from the investment reasons, the market adjustment reasons, completely again depends upon whether the technology over time is going to survive. The prime example of that, which I would give you, which I have been seeing from like since 2018, if you see Matic token converting into Polygon token, initially everybody thought that's going to be another pump and dump coming out, but it continued based on the technology and the adoption and moved into one of the blue chip tokens within the crypto industry. So long run, it's always going to be about your technology and the adoption. In a short run, if we are just looking from the regulatory landscape, 99% of the people who are even thinking of doing a token always do it outside US from a very long time already.
All right. Kavita, just for your own Delta fund, could you just tell us a little bit about what funding you've raised so far? 50 million was raised at the beginning and where you are now. And also, there was a case against you and Consensus. Could you just give us the update of what's going on there?
Yeah, I think just on the case you guys have already published that it was all settled and it was like all done. I got my due, I got paid. So this is all done and dusted back in April itself. I think you guys have the record for it moving forward. But with respect to Delta, we raised actually ultimately ended up doing around 65 for our first fund. We are in the process of launching a second fund, which we are excited. You'll have the update as soon as we are ready to launch it. We have deployed around 50% of the capital already, and the way we are moving forward is very excited. We are actually month by month still more than our invested capital, so we are very positive, more than 10% positive on our invested capital. So we are very happy that we are doing good to our investors, and we continue to believe in really, really good technologies and the founders across the globe, and especially a couple of projects which we are incubating from some of the most amazing operators and technologists coming from Silicon Valley is something which is getting me very excited for the next couple of months with our announcements.
I just have one follow-up on what you said about tokens. So, tokens are often registered outside of the US, but we've seen the SEC come down on projects if the token is accessible by American citizens, and it doesn't even have to be a lot of American citizens. How does that change how you advise the startups in your portfolio?
Basically, the first question obviously has always been, do you really need a token? Right? And just don't give an idea, we need a token because that's the way decentralization works, because it doesn't have to. It really has to have, if you are talking about that so-called network effect, how does that network effect really works with token and without token? Because I can come up with 10 ideas and brainstorm with the founder where the token may not be necessary and you still have that network effect. I think the first idea is there. Once you are convinced with your founder that the token is needed and these are the benefits of it, of course you go through the whole legal route with the best lawyers you can do. But what are you going to do, Jen, at the end of the day when you don't have clarity that everything which you're doing by the book today is actually the book which is acceptable? And so when you don't have that clarity, you do your best, which most of the most credible projects have done, or even, I mean, you guys have covered it in detail. Companies which have gone to SEC to take the blessings even before launching it to be even above the standard has faced the problems down the road. So what we advise is, does your token is really needed? Have you taken the best legal advice around it? When you are launching it, are you doing it in the most regulatory way, but also in the most decentralized way to make sure both with respect to centralized exchange and centralized exchange it's available? Beyond that, you just cross your fingers and you go in the market.
Yeah, I'm curious about one thing. You're also a teacher. You've been teaching at Stanford. Can you give us a sense from the bull market when you raised your fund first, and then to the crypto winter, and then to now when it's kind of like on the upswing a little bit? How have students reacted to the technology, to crypto in general? Like, what are they thinking? Are they excited as they were in the past or not? Like, what's happened?
It's super fascinating because when I started teaching in 19, every year I teach Beyond Bitcoin class. That's the only class I teach. And we have like a lot of undergrad and grad students. This year in January, the first time when we were talking about a lot of companies, we kept on getting questions at Stanford about, do you think this valuation was justifiable? Do you think this company's valuation was justifiable? And it was very interesting to see even like a senior at undergrad actually thinking through, if I'm creating this product, what is really going to be my valuation and which sector is going to survive? So for me, going back to your question, Amatosh, is like, we have started seeing a trend because of multiple bull and bear cycle. Students have started really realizing, is it applications which is going to survive? Is it infrastructure projects which is going to survive? Are we talking about building blocks all the way to databases, indexing, identity? And what is the right value for them to survive? Which I have never got such business accounting questions in a technology class before. So that was a big change this time.
Kavita, thank you so much for joining us. That was founder and GP of the Delta Blockchain Fund, Kavita Gupta.